Discipline over motivation, that's the truth most people don't want to hear. Everyone wants to feel inspired, everyone wants to feel ready, but that's not how life works. The world doesn't wait for your motivation to return. Success doesn't care if you're tired, if you're bored, or if you're not in the mood. What separates the ones who rise from the ones who stay stuck isn't how much they want something. It's how much they're willing to do when they don't feel like it. Discipline is the bridge between your goals and your reality. Motivation might start the journey, but discipline finishes it. When you rely on motivation, you give away your power. You become a slave to your emotions. You work hard only when you feel good, and you stop when you don't. That's not progress. That's a cycle of temporary highs, followed by deep frustration. Discipline breaks that pattern. Discipline says, I'll do it whether I feel like it or not. It's a commitment to consistency over comfort. It's waking up early when your bed feels too soft, studying when your mind is restless, training when your body is tired. It's saying no to distractions when your brain begs for the easy way out. You have to understand something. Discipline isn't punishment. It's self-respect. It's saying, I value my future more than I value this moment's pleasure. Most people don't lack motivation. They lack the courage to keep promises to themselves when no one's watching. That's what discipline builds. Every time you follow through, even on the smallest task, you're rewriting your identity. You're becoming the kind of person who can be trusted, not by others, but by yourself. That's where true confidence is born. Not in how loud you talk about your goals, but in how quietly you chase them when nobody's paying attention. The truth is, motivation is emotional. It burns bright but fades fast. Discipline, on the other hand, is logical. It's built on structure, not spark. The people you admire, the ones who seem unstoppable, aren't constantly motivated. They've just mastered the art of doing what needs to be done. They've learned that progress isn't about intensity, it's about persistence. It's about showing up again and again until the work becomes a part of who you are. And yes, discipline feels uncomfortable. It demands sacrifice. It asks you to trade short-term pleasure for long-term purpose. But discomfort is not your enemy, it's your teacher. Every moment you push through resistance, you're building a version of yourself that can handle more, endure more, and achieve more. You begin to realize that you don't need to feel ready to act. Action itself creates readiness. When you act with discipline, your mind catches up with your behavior. The more you do the work, the less you depend on feeling good about it. There will be days when you'll feel lost, when nothing seems to be moving, when your mind screams at you to stop. Those are the moments that define you. Anyone can work hard when they're inspired. Very few can keep going when everything inside them says quit. But that's where discipline shows its power. It doesn't ask how you feel. It reminds you who you are. And that's the shift you need. Stop chasing motivation. Motivation is loud but fleeting. Discipline is quiet but permanent. Let it become the rhythm of your life, the voice that says, get up, keep going, stay focused. Over time, discipline turns struggle into strength and effort into excellence. It transforms chaos into order, dreams into plans, and potential into reality. Because at the end of the day, it's not the one who feels the most motivated who wins. It's the one who acts the most disciplined. The one who shows up, does the work, and keeps moving forward no matter what. That's the person who builds an unshakable life. That's the person who turns discipline into destiny. You don't have to move mountains in a day. You just have to move yourself, even slightly, in the right direction. That's where most people get it wrong. They think consistency means intensity. They believe that in order to change their life, they need to overhaul everything overnight. But that's not how real growth works. Real change isn't explosive. It's gradual, it's quiet. It's often invisible for a long time. The truth is, every great transformation you've ever admired began with small, almost insignificant steps taken every single day. See, the mind loves the idea of big leaps. It's romantic. It makes us feel powerful for a moment. But life isn't built on moments of power. It's built on patterns of discipline. One workout doesn't change your body. One journal entry doesn't fix your mindset. And one productive day doesn't rewrite your habits. But doing those things repeatedly, consistently, patiently, that's what creates results that last. Small steps done daily are far more powerful than massive steps taken rarely. Every day you have a choice. You can choose the easy path that gives you comfort now, or you can choose the harder path that gives you growth later. Most people keep waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, or the perfect motivation to start. They tell themselves, "I'll begin when I'm ready," but readiness never arrives. It's an illusion that keeps you stuck in hesitation. You don't wait to feel ready, you start. And through starting, you become ready. Those tiny actions you dismiss today, the 10 minutes of reading, the short workout, the extra bit of focus before bed, they're not small. They're investments. Each one compounds over time. And that's the thing about consistency. It doesn't shout. It whispers. You don't see progress every day, but one morning you wake up and everything feels different. You realize that you've built momentum, that your small efforts have created a force that's now moving you forward almost naturally. That's the magic of steady, quiet effort. It's not supposed to be exciting all the time. Sometimes it's dull. Sometimes it's slow. Sometimes it feels like you're not moving at all. But that's where patience comes in. Growth is like watching a tree grow. You can't see it happening, but it is. Beneath the surface, the roots are spreading, the foundation is strengthening. Every repetition, every decision, every small step builds the structure that your success will stand on. The people who give up too soon are usually the ones who underestimate this truth. They think their effort isn't working because they don't see immediate results. But consistency is invisible before it's powerful. You won't always feel progress, but if you stay the course, you'll always create it. It's not about perfection, it's about persistence. Missing a day doesn't ruin your path, quitting does. The key is to forgive yourself for your slips, but never excuse yourself from showing up again. And here's the deeper reality. Small steps aren't just about productivity, they're about identity. Every time you follow through, you reinforce the belief that you are someone who keeps going. You start to trust yourself more. You stop seeing effort as a burden and start seeing it as your nature. That's when real transformation happens, not just in what you do, but in who you are becoming. So stop waiting for giant leaps. Stop searching for shortcuts. Focus on one meaningful step each day and take it with intention. That's how you build consistency, not through intensity, but through integrity. The kind of integrity that shows up not once in a while, but always. Because one small step today, one small step tomorrow, and another the next day, that's not weakness. That's power, that's progress. And one day, when you look back, you'll realize it was never one big moment that changed your life. It was all those small, determined steps you took when no one was watching. That's how ordinary days create extraordinary lives. Your excuses will always sound convincing. They'll sound reasonable. They'll sound like they're protecting you. That's the trap. The mind is clever. It knows how to disguise comfort as logic. It'll whisper things like, "You've had a long day, you deserve a break," or "You'll do it better tomorrow," or "It's not the right time yet." And before you know it, you've convinced yourself to quit for the day, and that one small decision becomes a pattern. That's how people destroy their potential, not by a single choice, but by 1,000 small negotiations that slowly weaken their will. Every time you negotiate with your excuses, you lose a little piece of your power. You hand control of your life to the part of you that craves comfort instead of growth. And here's the truth: growth doesn't come from comfort. Growth comes from friction. It comes from doing the things your mind resists. You cannot build strength if you always choose ease. You cannot build consistency if you always seek comfort. We all have that inner voice that tries to protect us from discomfort. It's the same voice that tells you to stay in bed when your alarm goes off, to take a day off when you haven't earned it, to scroll for 5 more minutes instead of doing the work. It doesn't seem harmful, but it's deadly, because that voice doesn't care about your future. It only cares about your feelings in the present. And if you keep listening to it, you'll build a life that feels safe but unfulfilled, comfortable but small. At some point, you have to stop negotiating. You have to decide that your goals are not up for debate. You have to stop making deals with your weakness. When you set out to do something, follow through. Not because it's easy, not because you feel inspired, but because you said you would. That's what integrity is. That's how you earn self-respect. You build it one unbroken promise at a time. Most people think failure is what kills dreams. It's not. Excuses do, because excuses create a slow decay, an invisible erosion of belief. Each time you say, "I'll do it tomorrow," you teach your brain that quitting is acceptable. Each time you justify not trying, you reinforce the idea that you can't handle the hard things, and over time, that becomes your reality. You start to believe your own lies, but the opposite is also true. Every time you silence an excuse, every time you act in spite of resistance, you train yourself to be stronger. You stop being controlled by mood and start being guided by purpose. That's what separates the average from the exceptional. Not talent, not luck, but the refusal to negotiate with weakness. It's not about being perfect. You'll stumble, you'll fall short. But the key is to stop arguing with yourself every time you face discomfort. When it's time to do the work, just do it. Don't give that inner voice the space to convince you otherwise. Action kills doubt. Movement silences resistance. The more you act, the quieter those excuses become. You have to become ruthless with your own mind. You have to catch yourself in the act of self-deception and say, "No more." Because every time you give in to an excuse, you strengthen the part of you that wants to stay the same. And every time you resist it, you strengthen the part that's capable of change. That's how transformation happens, through the daily decision to stop believing the stories that hold you back. So stop negotiating with your excuses. Stop justifying mediocrity. Stop protecting your comfort zone. Your goals don't care about your mood. Your dreams don't wait for your motivation. The only thing that matters is whether or not you act. And when you do consistently, even when it's hard, even when you don't feel like it, you'll find something extraordinary, that the version of you who stops negotiating is the one who finally starts winning. Feelings are temporary. They rise and fall like waves, strong one moment, gone the next. But too many people live their entire lives being controlled by how they feel in a given moment. They only act when they're inspired. They only work when they're in the mood. And they only stay consistent when it feels easy. That's not how discipline is built. If your actions depend on emotion, you'll always live a life of inconsistency. Because emotions are unreliable, they're influenced by sleep, stress, mood, even weather. But habits outlast feelings. Habits turn chaos into order. They carry you through the days when your motivation disappears. You can't control how you feel every day, but you can control what you do. That's what habits give you. Structure. A routine is not a prison, it's a foundation. It doesn't limit you. It frees you from the need to negotiate with yourself every morning. You don't have to waste energy deciding whether to do the work. You just do it. The choice has already been made. That's what separates the disciplined from the distracted. One lives by intention, the other by impulse. When you build habits, you take emotion out of the equation. You stop asking, "Do I feel like it?" and start saying, "It's time." That simple shift rewires your brain. It replaces uncertainty with clarity. Because once something becomes a habit, it no longer depends on motivation. It depends on identity. It's no longer about asterisk trying asterisk to be consistent. It's about asterisk being asterisk consistent. You become the kind of person who simply does the work, no matter how you feel. But this doesn't happen overnight. Building habits takes patience. You start small. You show up even when it's uncomfortable. You repeat the process until it becomes automatic, and slowly your brain begins to adapt. What once felt like a battle now feels like rhythm. The things that used to drain you begin to define you. The actions that once required willpower now flow effortlessly because they've become part of who you are. The real power of habit is that it protects you from yourself. On the hard days, when your energy is low and your mind is full of doubt, your habits keep you moving forward. They become the autopilot that keeps your life aligned with your goals. Think about it. When everything feels heavy, and you still do what you said you would, that's strength. That's discipline. That's control. The people who rely on feelings will always start fast and fade quickly. They'll have moments of brilliance but no consistency. The people who rely on habits, they last. They don't burn out because they've built systems to support their goals. Systems that don't crumble every time their emotions shift. That's what true stability looks like. It's not the absence of struggle. It's the presence of structure. And the beautiful thing is, once your habits are strong enough, they start working for you. They start carrying you toward your goals even on the days you're not consciously trying. Like a river carving through rock, repetition creates results that last. Every time you follow your routine despite how you feel, you deepen the path of discipline. You reinforce the idea that you're in control. Not your fear, not your fatigue, not your feelings. You. This is what separates a fleeting effort from a lasting transformation. Feelings are unpredictable, but habits are loyal. They stay with you when motivation dies. They remind you of your purpose when your emotions forget it. They keep you grounded when life tries to shake you. So build habits that are stronger than your moods, stronger than your doubts, stronger than your excuses. Because the truth is simple. Your feelings can change in an instant, but your habits determine your destiny. And the person who builds habits that outlast feelings is the one who will keep moving long after everyone else has stopped. We live in a world obsessed with results. Everyone wants to see progress right away, to hold success in their hands, to prove that their effort is paying off. But that kind of thinking is dangerous because it sets you up for disappointment. The truth is, meaningful results take time, longer than you think, longer than you want. And if your commitment is based only on what you can see, you'll quit before the real growth even begins. That's why you have to learn to trust the process, not the outcome. When you start something, a goal, a routine, a dream, there's excitement. You feel momentum, but that initial energy fades, and then what's left? The grind, the repetition, the days that blur together without visible change. That's where most people give up. They think it's not working, when in reality it is asterisk, just not in the way they expect. Growth often hides beneath the surface, quietly building strength and foundation long before it shows any visible reward. You can't dig up a seed every day to check if it's growing. You have to water it, nurture it, and trust that the roots are doing their work in silence. Trusting the process means letting go of your obsession with control. It's understanding that you can't dictate when results will come. You can only control your effort, your consistency, your attitude. It's realizing that success is not a single event. It's the accumulation of thousands of small, often unnoticed actions. Every time you show up, even when no one sees, even when you doubt yourself. You're contributing to something bigger than the moment. The hardest part is when it feels like nothing is happening. That's where your faith is tested. That's where most people walk away. But those are the exact moments that matter most, because what you're building in that space of silence is not just skill, it's character. You're teaching yourself patience, resilience, and humility. You're learning how to keep moving without validation. That's what separates those who finish from those who only start. You have to remind yourself that results are a reflection, not a requirement. They'll come when they're ready. You can't force timing, but you can force discipline. You can commit to showing up regardless of how long it takes. Every day you stay consistent. Every day you follow the process. You're closing the gap between who you are and who you want to be, even if you can't see it yet. And maybe that's the point. Maybe the process is supposed to challenge your patience. Maybe it's designed to strip away your dependence on external proof and force you to find internal strength. When you stop chasing outcomes, you start focusing on quality. The quality of your effort, your mindset, your habits. That's what creates mastery, not the result itself, but the discipline behind it. The truth is, outcomes are fragile. They can change, they can be delayed, they can even disappear. But the process, that's yours forever. Once you fall in love with the work itself, no setback can break you. You stop measuring your worth by results, and you start measuring it by commitment. You start realizing that the goal was never just to achieve something. It was to become someone. Every great person you admire has lived this truth. They've learned to trust the seasons of struggle. They've learned to keep showing up when there's no applause. Because deep down, they know that if you stay loyal to the process, the results will eventually have no choice but to appear. It might not happen when you want it to, but it will happen when you've earned it. So keep working, even when you can't see progress. Keep showing up, even when it feels like nothing's changing. The process is shaping you in ways you don't yet understand. And one day, when everything finally clicks, you'll realize the waiting, the effort, the silence. It was all worth it. Because trusting the process doesn't just get you results. It transforms you into the kind of person who can sustain them. There will always be days when you don't want to do it. Days when the weight of everything feels heavier than usual. When your mind tells you to take it easy. When every part of you wants to stay still. Those are the days that define you. Anyone can show up when it's convenient, when they feel energized, when the world is cheering them on. But the person who shows up anyway, when it's hard, when it's lonely, when there's no applause, that's the person who builds something real. That's the kind of strength that can't be faked. You have to understand something showing up isn't just about action. It's about identity. Every time you show up despite resistance, you're casting a vote for the kind of person you are becoming. You're telling yourself, I don't quit when it's hard. I don't run when it's uncomfortable. I don't give up just because no one is watching. That's how character is forged, not in moments of ease, but in moments of choice. There's a version of you that exists on the other side of consistency. A version that's calmer, more capable, more certain. But you'll never meet that version if you keep waiting for the perfect moment to act. The perfect moment doesn't exist. You make it perfect by acting within it. Every time you push yourself to show up, you're building evidence that you can trust yourself. You're proving that you don't need the world to validate you. You can depend on your own word. That's power. Most people stop the moment things get uncomfortable. They confuse difficulty with failure. But difficulty isn't a signal to stop. It's a test. It's the universe asking, how much do you actually want this? And if you can learn to show up through that discomfort, even when nothing feels certain, you become unstoppable. Because the hardest part isn't doing the work. It's starting when you don't feel like it. Once you're in motion, the energy comes. Once you begin, the resistance fades. The key is not waiting for clarity or confidence before you act. Both of those are built asterisk after asterisk you show up. You have to learn to silence the voice that says, "Not today." That voice is seductive. It sounds logical. It sounds kind. It sounds like it's protecting you. But it's the same voice that keeps you trapped in the same patterns year after year. Don't negotiate with it. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need to feel inspired. You just need to take the next step. It might not be perfect. It might not be pretty, but it moves you forward. And that's what matters. The truth is, life rewards persistence. Not perfection, not speed, persistence. The person who shows up again and again through doubt and distraction will always surpass the one who waits for the right feeling. Because showing up anyway is a declaration of intent. It says, I'm not controlled by my emotions. I'm controlled by my purpose. And once you start living that way, you begin to rise above the noise. You stop letting your circumstances dictate your behavior. You start creating your own momentum. It's not about never feeling tired or never feeling lost. It's about showing up in spite of it. Every day you choose to act, you're separating yourself from the version of you that would have quit. You're building mental armor, layer by layer through each moment of resistance. Over time, you realize that showing up isn't something you do just for results. It's something you do because it's who you are, and that's what this entire journey is about. Not just becoming someone who achieves, but someone who endures. Someone who doesn't wait for the perfect conditions, but creates progress from imperfection. Someone who shows up when no one else does, because they understand that consistency is the ultimate act of self-respect. So no matter how heavy the day feels, no matter how far you think you still have to go, show up anyway. Because the moment you do, you've already won the hardest battle. The person who shows up again and again, no matter what, becomes the person who can handle asterisk anything. Asterisk consistency is not a skill you're born with, it's a choice you make every single day. It's deciding that no matter how you feel, no matter how far you have to go, you'll keep showing up. This entire journey, forcing yourself to stay consistent, isn't about perfection. It's about perseverance. It's about learning that motivation fades, but discipline remains. It's about trusting the process when results are invisible, fighting your excuses when they sound convincing, and building habits that carry you through the chaos of emotion. Because the truth is, greatness doesn't come from what you do once. It comes from what you do repeatedly. It comes from the quiet moments when you choose effort over comfort, progress over pleasure, responsibility over avoidance. You don't have to move fast, you just have to move forward. You don't have to feel strong, you just have to keep going. When you force yourself to stay consistent, you stop waiting for the world to push you. You begin to push yourself. That's when transformation happens. That's when ordinary people become unstoppable. Because in the end, consistency isn't just a practice, it's power. The kind of power that builds character, earns respect, and creates a life that reflects your highest potential. Stay disciplined, stay steady. And when it gets hard, and it will remember this, the person who keeps showing up, even when no one's watching, is the person who eventually becomes everything they once dreamed of being.